Bonjour, 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 and welcome back to the Waves of Your Soul. Today it's gonna be a good old-fashioned haul. I want to share with you the new tarot and oracle decks that arrived in my collection in the month of March. I've got some mass market decks, I've got some indie decks, I've got some tarot, some oracles, so I think there'll be something here for everyone. Also have some Lenormand decks, because I've been getting back into Lenormand this year and I'm into a little bit of a study mode, so I'll share that with you. And some of these decks are new acquisitions, whereas some of them were ordered literally over a year ago and decided to finally land in my mailbox. So as one magically again appeared today, I thought it was time to film a little haul. Saturday is the day I'm filming this, so I was just in the mood to sit down, talk to you guys about the things that we're passionate about, and just have a chill and good time. So in the description box, as per usual, I'm gonna put all the names of the decks I'm talking about in case my froggy French accent gets in the way and you're like, girl, say what? I don't understand what you just said. Don't worry, the names of the decks are going to be in the description box. I'll also put my link for my deck haul playlist. I made a playlist for my deck hauls. I thought for those of you out there who like to binge watch, could be fun. And you'll also find all of my other social media links in case you're curious and you want to come on Instagram and stuff and say hi. I'm in the process on Instagram to sharing my entire tarot collection, one deck at a time. So now's a good time to come and join because there's going to be a lot of deliciousness being shared over there. So let's get into it. Okay, where do I want to start? I want to start with actually one that has stolen my heart. I've been using it all month long or for the month of March and I'm obsessed. I've already shared it on Instagram. Literally stolen my heart. This is the Big It Tarot, Big Mice Tarot by Owl and EZD. I'm not even gonna pronounce this. I know I'll butcher it, so we'll spare you the horror. This is a deck I had pre-ordered earlier in the year, or maybe even December, I can't remember, because I missed the Kickstarter. So I missed the Kickstarter and then I saw that they had open pre-orders. I think it was like December or January, and mine arrived literally end of February or beginning of March, like the very, very early March. And I've been obsessed ever since because this is just too cute. So it comes in a tuck box, as you can see, and it says, in this deck, magic, destiny and dangerous predators intertwine with fantasy and cottagecore tones, painting a land full of mystery and adventure. Arcadia ready to be read, one card at a time, one life at a time. So this is its own world, and you could actually purchase a separate big book with it, but the shipping cost for me was becoming really expensive. I just couldn't afford it, so I ended up just getting the deck. But you do get with the deck a little white guidebook, which is actually fantastic because that, like I said, the way that this has been built is that there's a whole world around it. I have different places, for example 4 cities, the City of Giants, the Stone House, the galleries. It's kind of like inviting you into a Tolkien vibe world, except all the heroes are little mice, which we'll get into, which are just adorable. And then for each of the cards you get a little bit of a write-up about who the character on the card is, because for 78 cards there's actually 78 characters here with little stories, and so the guidebook does tell you a little bit about who they are and what their story is. Obviously the big guidebook would be great, and I'm considering purchasing it at some point. I just couldn't at the time. Now that I'm kind of like obsessed with this deck, I'm very much considering getting the larger guidebook. If you guys have it now, I'm very curious, is it worth it? Is it worth like the extra expense, the shipping cost, etc.? Please let me know in the comments. I would love to have your opinion. The deck does come with extra oracle cards. We have the Veil, the Guardians, the Bard, the Voice, the Observer, the Last, the Early Bird, and the First. And as you can tell already from the artwork, this is absolutely giving storybook fantasy world where little mouses are the heroes. And I'm not a huge mouse fan. Like, they're nice. I don't have anything against mices or mouse. I need to make a disclaimer. I never know which one is mice, which one is mouse, plural, singular. I'm gonna be using them completely wrong. You know, English is not my first language, and when it comes to mice, mouse, this is something that my brain could never wrap its head around since I've ever had to learn English. So I know I'm gonna probably make mistake, mouse, mice, whatever. One is singular, one is plural. I don't know which is which. Please forgive me in advance. Okay. So I've never been a mouse fan necessarily. Like, they're cute, but they're definitely not my favorite animal. But when I saw this particular artwork, something about it completely transported me and tugged at something within me, almost like childhood memory core unlocked. And I think it's because the artwork is giving very storybook vibes, which is wonderful and makes my little like inner child squeal with joy. The fact that we see different mices like riding rabbits and riding pigeons and talking to each other is just wonderful, and the artwork is gorgeous. I'm just obsessed. Definitely what made me purchase the deck in the first place. What completely surprised me and honestly just made me look at this deck in a completely different light was that these little creatures are not just cute mouse, they're actually living in this fantasy world that was built, like I was saying. So we have this whole story, they all have adventures, there's different clans, different cities, different like places that they can come from, and they are living in this like fantasy adventure RPG type of world that reminds me of fantasy books I love to read or video games I love to play. And so even though these little mice are super cute, what they go through, their adventures, is fierce, it's brave, it's badass, and it's difficult. And I feel like this deck has helped remind me that you can be brave in the face of difficult situation, regardless of like how small you are, regardless of what life has given you. You can rise up to the occasion and defeat challenges, because these little creatures right there are so brave, so fierce, so curious, so adventurous, and you see them often in the deck standing up against adversity in a way that is completely fierce and courageous, and in the way that inspires you as well to like implement those qualities in your own life. So this deck has truly stolen my heart. Like I said, in the month of March, I've used this consistently all month. It has helped me get through a very difficult time. I'm coming back from my trip to the UK. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I invite you to watch my latest favorite, my February favorites. I explain to you what happened, life catch up and stuff. I leave it in the card. Coming back from that, it's been difficult, not just physically. I've been going through a lot of injuries physically, but also emotionally. It's been like hard to say goodbye to this part of my life and to now be back in a more liminal space where you've closed the door but you haven't quite yet opened the next one. And whilst you're in this like weird liminal in-between space, it can be easy to feel lost and confused. And these little creatures, these little mouse, have been helping me seeing the light, have been helping me like feel hopeful again, or at least feel brave enough to overcome whatever difficult situation I'm facing. So I love this sense of adventure. I love the world building. I love the fact that there are little heroes all going on like different quests. I love how the emotions are portrayed to this deck, even though they're not human looking. Their lives and their different like emotions are definitely relatable to what we go through as humans. It has joined the ranks of my good mood decks Hall of Fame, and for that reason I'm even more grateful about it. So I wanted to share it with you guys. It's not, like I said, this is not a first impression. I've used it all month long. You'll see it in my favorites for March for sure. So I'll shut up about it for now, but honestly the Mimit Tarot is amazing. Oh, I forgot to say, so the one I got is the Big Mice Tarot. It's tarot size. You can also get the Mimit Mini Mice Tarot, which is actually playing card size, but because I like larger decks, I'm not a huge fan of mini decks. I have, as we know, orc hands. Usually mini decks are not necessarily my fave. This one I really wanted to enjoy the artwork, so I got the larger size. The backs look like this, and it's not edged or anything, which is actually nice. I like the fact that it's plain. So this is it. Let's move on to a cute little deck that did I need? No, I really didn't need, but does it make me feel happy and joyful, and is it another good mood deck? Yes, absolutely. This is a cute little indie deck. It is from Les Oracles de Cricri, who is a French indie creator on Etsy. I'll leave the link to their Etsy shop down below. And I saw this particular deck, it was around December, I think, and it arrived early March. It is called Le Tarot Oracle de Cricri, and it's a manga-inspired tarot deck. First, let's just get over what I don't like. The backs are really not my favorite. It's not that they're ugly, it's just that I don't like the writing on the backs. That's just a personal preferences. If it had been just this particular image without the backing, without the writing on the back, it would have been 10 times better for my personal opinion. I really dislike branding on the back of cards. It just is not my vibe. When I do pick a card readings and stuff, it's not necessarily nice to have the writing on the back, but that's just me. Obviously, the artists are welcome to do whatever they want, and it didn't stop me from purchasing the deck, so it's not a huge deal, but it's just not my favorite. Now let's talk about the things I do like, which is the artwork and actually the size. And to be honest, I'm a clown, because I just told you in the previous deck that I bought the large version because I'm not necessarily a fan of a mini deck, and I bought this one because it was small. So am I a clown? Yes. Am I full of contradictions? Yes, but at least I'm self-aware. So this one is definitely smaller. If I take the deck I just showed you, the Bigot Tarot, and compare, so the Bigot Tarot is definitely regular size. If I compare, you can see this one is less wide and a little bit less tall. So it's not quite poker size, but it definitely is a smaller size. So I think for those of you out there who have smaller hands, or maybe even like hand paint, stuff like that, it'll be easy to shuffle. It's not gilded or anything, and it didn't come with a guidebook, and it didn't come with a box. It just comes with one of those little pouches, which is fine by me, because the reason why I decided to buy this deck is first because it's really cute. I mean, that's the main reason, let's face it. Two, because I was probably having a moment where I was like feeling a bit low and wanted something like that would be fun, cute, and good mood, and this definitely is that. But also because I thought it would be a great little deck to carry everywhere. I mean, my main carrier, and actually I haven't done the tag, the carry, whatever, I can't remember what it's called, it's from Merlin Teresa, but I've enjoyed watching people's videos, I just haven't made my own. But the deck I usually carry with me is the Aquarian Tarot in a tin, and it's great, I've enjoyed it a lot, but I'm kind of like getting a little bit, I'm not sick of it, but I wanted something else. And because this was smaller and it was very cute, I thought I could alternate between carrying the Aquarian, which is very like classic looking, and I adore the Aquarian, it's amazing, but I could also maybe alternate with this one, which was a lot cuter and just a bit more colorful. So as you can tell, this is absolutely manga inspired, and it is a tarot oracle, so tarot oracle, because not only do you have the name of the card here, like the Queen of Swords, you also have a keyword. Here we have independence for the Queen of Swords. For the Two of Wands, we have reflection and decision. Again, normally I'm not a huge fan of keywords on card, but this one, it actually kind of like worked. I don't know, when I looked at some reviews online, I was like actually enjoying what the keywords had to say, and I thought that it would be kind of like the exception to the rule, like for me, in the sense of like, I don't love a mini deck, but this one works for me. I don't necessarily love writing on my cards, but this one works for me. And another exception to the rule, I don't know if this is AI or not. Sometimes the backgrounds do look a little bit AI vibes, like the clouds here. I don't know, please don't quote me on this, I have no idea. It's just that when I look at it, I have doubts, like some of it could look AI vibes, and normally that's not necessarily something that I would look for in a deck, but again, for this one it really works because it feels consistent, because all the characters look like they belong in the same family. Very consistent. So like I said, I don't know if it's AI or not. but it didn't really matter for me for this one, because I just thought it was really cute. I just thought it really worked, and somehow it's like the exception to all of my rules. So I've been using it the last couple of weeks. It's been living in my bag, and every time I've been out and about, it's been like my go-to, and honestly it's been really joyful. This is another good mood deck. You guys, I was in the mood like the last months and a half. I've been needing cute, I've been needing good mood decks, I've been needing things that just bring me joy, and the last two decks I've shared with you are just that. I actually really love the keywords that they've chosen for most of the cards. Like for the Devil we have Pulsion and Pleasure, for the Queen of Wands we have Determination and Success, for the Ten of Swords we have Failure, End and Loss, for the Ten of Wands we have Burden, Stress and Overworked. Eight of Swords is limitation, paralysis, and sometimes when I'm exhausted, I've actually noticed that it can be nice to have a couple of keywords when I'm reading for myself, because it's like, oh yeah, I can kind of put my brain off for a bit and just use this as kind of almost like an oracle. And that's why it's called the tarot oracle, because it's a tarot, but the fact that you have keywords there definitely help to make it a little bit of an oracle as well. So this particular creator has lots of different decks in their shop. I think they have different types of decks. They have manga style and more like fantasy looking. I just went with this particular one because honestly the manga style is so cute. There's something about their cute little face that just tugs my heartstring, and again the size, the portability, everything makes this a cute little friend to put in my bag. Let's move on to a huge monster deck. Oh my goodness, you guys, this might be the largest deck I own in my collection in terms of size. It's huge. We have over 100 cards in this deck, and as I've mentioned before, orc hands over here. I've got very large hands, and even for me it's almost a struggle. I can shuffle them, but almost a struggle. And for that reason I love it even more, because I'm a glutton for punishment. So no, but I love large decks. If you watch my videos before, you know I love large decks. The more cards the better. So when I saw this particular deck had over 100, I was sold. The one thing that I will say though is that makes this deck even cooler is that you can actually choose the size on the Etsy shop of the card. So I got mine tarot size, but you can get it smaller if you want. And so if you have like smaller hands, or again like hand paint or whatever, you can just buy this deck in a smaller size. It'll be much easier to shuffle. Like I said before, normally I enjoy larger decks. For me anyway, I'm not a huge mini deck fan, apart from obviously the few exceptions like the one I've just shared with you. This is a very special deck. I didn't show you the backs. Let me go back. It's very glossy, as you can see. So if you don't like glossy decks, forget it. It's very glossy on both sides, and it's very thick. So that's another thing, like it feels like if you want to riffle shuffle, it's gonna be a struggle. So if you don't like glossy decks and you only riffle shuffle, I don't think this is a deck for you. However, if you are not too particular about like specific production things, you are open-minded about those things, then I think this is definitely a deck to pay attention to, because it's very, very special. It's called the Breath of the Night, and I bought it on Etsy. It doesn't come with a physical guidebook, and it didn't come with a box or anything, so I've put mine in a pouch. I'll share with you how it comes. It's actually beautifully wrapped. I'll put a picture here. But this is a very special deck because it's over 100 cards, like I was saying, and originally it was a Russian deck. As you can see, we have English keywords and Russian keywords here. It was a Russian deck, and it was no longer printed, I believe, in Russia. And then a Ukrainian artist picked up the system, because this is its own system, and kind of like revamped it a little, and is now selling her version on her Etsy shop. So this actually came from Ukraine. This particular Ukrainian creator has so many decks on her Etsy shop, and she is so lovely. When you get the deck, you can ask for the PDF. There's like a Russian PDF and a English PDF of this deck. You can tell they're passionate about their work, and you can just tell that this is something that they just makes them very happy. And so they have tons of cool decks on their website. I wanted this one, and I'll tell you why, because it's its own system, and because I just fell in love with the artwork, and I found it at random literally when I was on Etsy, and I just took a chance. And it took about 2 months and a half to arrive to me, which honestly is not that long at all. But I need to warn you, like, obviously it comes from Ukraine. With everything that's happening right now, you have to expect delays, which I was completely fine about. Don't expect this to be shipped super quick. You have to take into consideration what's happening in the country. But honestly, that was also why I wanted to support this particular creator, because I thought the fact that they continued putting their decks out in the world despite everything going on in their country, I thought that was really wonderful. So I was very excited to find this deck, and it didn't even take that long for me to arrive. Like 2 months and a half is nothing. And I've been completely obsessed with this deck. So the way it works is that the first 36 cards are Lenormand cards. You might have seen some here. We have the cross, and we have the bouquet, and we have the garden, and we have the bear, all of the regular, the fox, all of the regular Lenormand cards for the first 36. And then the other, whatever 100 minus 36 is, look, math ain't my thing. The rest of the card, we have different concepts. So we had like mystery, for example, and I think we had like the shadow, and we had like the cauldron and the spider. So this deck feels very, very witchy. It's very intuitive. You do have, like I said, a PDF that you can ask for, which is actually really good. You can tell a lot of research went into it. It's written a little bit in broken English, but obviously, like, the creator is not English. You can tell a lot of research was put in this particular deck. So intuitive. Like, look, we have the stairs, we have the 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth. We have things like the eye, and we have like the Joker. The rider obviously belongs to the Lenormand. We have time. These are concepts that you know well, that are like universals. And so obviously you're welcome to use this as a Lenormand, as a Lenormand oracle, as an oracle. And for me, I've been using all the cards together. I've mixed them all in. I've removed some, which I'll share with you in a bit. There are some that are not my fave, so I'll share with you those in a bit, but I've kept the majority of them in. And I'm using this as like a prediction type of deck, and it speaks so true. This is a freaking sharpshooter. It's a sniper. I've been reading with this for myself and my friends, and oh my god, it is accurate. Okay, it will not pull any punches. It will actually tell you what you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear it. There's definitely some like harder cards. We had the alcohol, we had the voodoo doll, we had the vampire. So you're welcome to leave them in or remove them however you choose. Obviously you can make of these concepts however you choose. Alcohol can be alcohol, but it could also be just addiction in general, or it could be like dumbing your senses, or it could be like just not wanting to pay attention to situation, or maybe it's like a distraction or a celebration. Like, it depends how you look alcohol in your life, I guess. And obviously you're welcome to, again, add as many cards or remove as many cards as you want. With over 100 cards, you've got a lot of choices here. The artwork is definitely giving 2000 dark fantasy emo art, and I'm super here for it. Honestly, I love that. And like I said, it's giving very witchy vibes. We had the cauldron, we had the raven, we had the cat, we have the Sabbath. This is absolutely a witchy deck, I think, when it comes around Samhain and Halloween, which for me is actually coming up because we're at the end of summer where I live. This is gonna be fantastic, but I've already been using it consistently and I'm obsessed. I'm loving making my own associations with the keywords, and this speaks really well. I'm tempted to purchase other decks from this creator because she was so sweet, and she's got tons of larger decks like this, which are like over 100 cards, and I think some of her decks even might be in different languages. Like, I think some of them she might even have them you can choose English, French, Spanish, and Russian. So I need to have a look. I will say I removed some cards because this didn't really go with how I read particularly. So I like the fact that we had several significators. So we have two women, we have two men and women. We have a more Victorian vibe here, and we have more sexy vampire Twilight vibe here. And honestly, those are my faves, but I don't really use significators in my readings, so that's why I've removed them. But I like the fact that there's two couples. That's cool, so you can add them in depending on your choice. You also have a elderly couple. You have old man, old woman, which I thought was really cool. Again, you can decide they are significators, or you can think this is crone energy, magician energy, hermit energy, however you want to read with this. And then there was this this particular card, which they translated to the black man. And I think this is where there's like cultural differences, lost in translation vibes, because you can definitely see that this is like a shadow figure, like a someone who's gonna be like evil and dark, and maybe could be relating to like someone that is not good in your life. But the fact that it's literally translated to black man, it doesn't do it for me. I understand it's like lost in translation and stuff, but it makes me feel uncomfortable, so I don't want to add it in, especially because there are other cards that for me relate to this particular idea of like dark shadow, especially this one. We had the darkness card, which is giving that like scary, spooky, potentially haunted vibe of like, look, you need to look at your shadow, or there's like influence from something darker here that you need to pay attention to. And there's also a shadow card. So this one, for me, I don't need it in. So I kind of remove it. And for my like darker shadow vibes, I've decided this shadow for me is like an idea of you need to look at your shadow, do some shadow work, there's something there. And the way I read this one, darkness, is actually something exterior to you, something like in your environment or in the people around you. This for me is more internal shadow, this for me is more external shadow, and that's the way that I've decided to kind of like use this deck and read with it. I'm so obsessed with this. I think that the fact that there's so many cards, that it has a really unique, cool system, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I've never seen this shared. Yet the artist is so kind, she's so nice, and she has tons of cool decks, Lenormand decks and stuff that I think a lot of you might enjoy. So I really wanted to share it here in case you guys are interested. Let's move on to my first Lyrica order. So I wanted to order a couple of Lenormand decks, which I'll share with you in a bit, French Lenormand decks, because I've been on a little bit of a Lenormand study, like I was saying. And some of you guys in the comment had told me that I should really try Lyrica, which is a French library website that sells French decks worldwide. And so I know some of you are in Argentina and Canada and stuff like that, and you've managed to order some French decks through this website for not too expensive. And I thought, let me give it a shot and order to Reunion. And it was so fast. I received my order in like less than a week, which is incredible. It was very well packaged, it wasn't that expensive, and I'll definitely be ordering from them again. I'm not sponsored or anything, but after the closing down of Book Depository, it's nice to discover another option, considering we don't have Amazon where I live, which is probably better for my wallet anyway. But I'll leave the link in the shop down below in my description box. Again, I'm not sponsored, I'm just sharing, because if any of you out there are wanting to pick up French decks worldwide, then this is the place to do it for not crazy expensive. So on Lyrica I ordered 3 French decks. The first one is actually a deck you guys might know because it also exists, or existed, I don't know, in English. It's Ted Andrews' Le Tarot de la Sagesse Animale. I believe in English it was like Animal Wisdom Tarot, something. You guys would know. It's a very, very old deck. In the French version it comes in a huge box, and I don't know if this is still printed in English. I really don't. If I find it, I'll leave it in the description box. But I believe, anyway, for the French version, because it comes from a very old edition from like early 2000s, and it's not really been reprinted ever since. I've been thinking about this deck for years, and then I've had this like feeling that it might go out of print. So I thought, as I was ordering Lenormand decks anyway, I was like, okay, let me pick this up before it actually goes out of print, because if it does, I'll be gutted. And it comes in a huge book, proper actual book. This has been the deck that has been living on my bedside table, because even though it's a tarot deck, for me, I've kind of been using it as an oracle. So in the French version it comes with like this separate large book, and the cards come in this tag box. Again, I don't know if this is still printed mass market in English or not. If it is, I believe it would be in a similar shape, like I would believe you'd get at least a large book and stuff. I love those backs so much. This particular griffin, so cool. The cards are a little bit larger and taller than regular tarot size, and the sides are plain, which I also love. I'm kind of over gilding, you guys. I'm getting back to regular, simple, normal, plain edges. I still enjoy edging my decks. I'm just not so keen on like glitter, hollow kind of like metallic edges anymore, so I'm really enjoying plain edges right now. There's something very simple and no fuss about them. And as the name would suggest, the Wisdom of Animal Tarot, this is all about animals, and it is a photographic deck, and it's definitely old school. I believe this is out since like the early 2000s. Let me check. 1999 for the Animal Wise Tarot, and this particular translation, the French version, has been out since 2000. As you can tell, the artwork is definitely giving that vintage vibe, right? The way it's set up, the way it looks, and this is what I wanted. This is what called to me. I really have been thinking about this deck for years and years. It's been on my wish list. I love the images and I love the keywords on the card. As you can see, every single card you have the animal, you have the elemental association. So here is the badger. It's linked to earth, which is linked to pentacles. The name in French is pentacles. You have the renaming of the suits. So we have winged quadrupeds. I don't know how you say that in English, but anyway. And then you have a key phrases here for each of the card, whether it's major arcana or minor arcana. So for the badger, for the Four of Pentacles, it says autonomy and practical activity. For judgment with the whale, honestly, when I saw that they had whale for judgment, was a huge reason why I wanted this deck, because I love whales. New creative depth, and so on and so forth for each of the card. Every card you have a key phrase, and then in the guidebook, for me, this is where the magic is. The guidebook is just so wonderful. And a lot of you will be familiar with Ted Andrews. I think his writings are really great. I think he knows his stuff, and it's just a great guidebook. Very healing, very soothing. So for each of the cards, for example, here we have the Ace of Pentacles for the bison. You have about 2-3 pages, an upward and a reverse meaning, and then you always have some questions at the end that are like journaling questions. Maybe you want to meditate on them, maybe you want to journal about them. This guidebook is just so fantastic. I love working with animal energy. It's something that's very healing, very soothing to me. And the way that this is written, it explains to you why the animal was chosen for each card, but it does so in a very ecological mindset, in a very spiritual mindset, and a very healing and nurturing mindset. We literally pull 1 to 2 cards, read the guidebook, meditate on it, journal about it, and that's it. I don't really use this as a tarot yet. I'm kind of like taking my time to get to know all the association, but I think that if you wanted to use this as a tarot deck, you absolutely could, because the names of the card are on there. You still get some keywords. Like, you don't need all the extra stuff that the guidebook tells you, but it's just so nice to read that for me it's really been a wonderful little gift I give to myself. Like at night I'll pull a card and it just brings me a lot of joy, brings me a lot of healings, and this is a deck I've been wanting for years, like I was saying. So, and I've been really worried that it was going to be out of print, at least the French version, so I thought it was finally time for me to pull the trigger. And I love the fact that there are animals that we don't see everywhere and that are still super important. The chameleon for the Page of Wands is brilliant. I love chameleons. I see them all the time in our garden, and the Page of Wands is one of my significators, so it's nice to see this little like synchronicity here. So the Animal Wise Tarot, or the Tarot de la Sagesse Animale, definitely deserves all the hype that there is. You understand why it stood the test of time. Finally, let's move on to my couple of Lenormand decks that I ordered on, again, this Lyrica website. The first one is the Ciro Marchetti Lenormand. This is a deck that I've got the French version, but it exists in English as well. I believe it might even exist in other languages. It's a Lenormand deck, and it also has extra cards, so Lenormand plus some oracle cards. It comes with a great little guidebook, which is actually really great to get into Lenormand, that I've really enjoyed. And it also comes with an additional couple of cards, like we have extra significator man and woman, and we also have an extra bird card, so you can choose birds or owls depending on what you fancy. And I've put it back in order because I've been, like I said, studying it. Here are the backs, by the way, which I really enjoy, and the sides are gold gilded. and this is mass market. So I've been in this like Lenormand mood for the beginning of the year. I don't know why, because literally 3 years ago I got rid of all of my Lenormand and I was like, yeah, it's not for me. Got rid of all of them bar one, and literally woke up at the beginning of 2024 and I was like, man, why did I do that? Because now I want to get back into Lenormand. So sometimes we do silly things and we can be silly little geese, and that was me. That was literally me getting rid of all my decks and then being like, man, I shouldn't have done that. I'm an idiot. So this year I decided to pick a couple back up and to study them again and to give Lenormand a second chance. And the Chiro Marchetti one was the one I decided to go with because I really enjoy Chiro Marchetti's artwork. I only have one of his deck. I have the Encore Tarot, the French Mass Market edition, which I love. And I really enjoyed the look of his Lenormand deck, so I was like, this is the one I want. I love the fact that there was added oracle cards as well, which we'll get to, because I thought if I don't vibe with the whole Lenormand association, very strict association card, which to be honest is part of why I gave up Lenormand 3 years ago. I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around this plus this equal this and nothing else. The idea is that stork plus dog equal that and that dog plus stork equal that. I was like, oh, this is just too complicated. Like, I read a lot more freely and intuitively, so to when I have people that are like, this is the only way you can read this and nothing else, it just puts me right off, right? I'm an Aries. I don't really like when people tell me what to do. Especially when in cartomancy, I understand we have to respect the system. I obviously know and respect our system, but I also don't like to be boxed in one type of meaning and that's it. So this is why I gave up Lenormand before. I'm willing to give it another chance now and to be a little bit more fluid about it and be less listening to the gatekeepers and listen more to the people who actually have fun with Lenormand and who just read it still considering the system and the structure, but with a little bit more intuitive freedom. So that's how I'm approaching it this time. And I thought, because this had extra cards to make it also an oracle, that at least even if I didn't vibe with the whole normal structure, I could still use this as an oracle. So I'm really glad that I made this particular choice, and it's been a lot of fun to get back into studying Lenormand in a more free and less like rigid and pressuring kind of vibe. And finally, the big study project I've been doing is working on the Grand Lenormand. So this is Le Grand Lenormand by Mademoiselle Audrina. It's a French mass market deck, looks like this. And this is actually inspired by the traditional Grand Lenormand, which is different from the Lenormand decks that we know and love. So a deck like this with like normally 36 cards called Le Petit Lenormand and then Le Grand Lenormand, which is normally a traditional deck, is a complete other system. It doesn't really have much to do with Lenormand at all, really. It's a system that, again, I've been wanting to study for ages, and I was like, you know what? Why give myself one study project, just a little Lenormand, when I could give myself two and give myself more headaches? So, of course, again, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I went and decided to study two systems at once. And so this is a modern reinterpretation of a traditional deck, and I'll put the image of the traditional deck on the screen right now so all you guys can see it. I feel like most of you will recognize this particular one. I don't have a copy of the traditional classical Grand Lenormand yet because I can't find one that is not expensive, and I really don't want to spend too much on it because this particular system is crazy, and I don't know yet if I enjoy it or not. They didn't have at the time of me doing the order the classic traditional one, but they had this modern reinterpretation by Madame Audrina, and this particular interpretation I actually really love because I think the artwork is gorgeous. So I don't think I showed you the back. Here are the backs, and it's a gold edge particular system of Le Grand Lenormand. It is crazy. For each card you have a constellation. Here you have a particular reference to a myth, usually Greek myth. You have reference to traditional cartomancy. You have a plant. You have a symbol. You have here geomancy symbolism. There is so much, about 5 to 6 symbols on each card. And the way that this is set out is that you have different families. So there's like the family that retells the Trojan War. There is one that talks about alchemy. in each family refers to a specific theming, so whether we're talking about business or in like events and things like that. And again, on each of the card you'll have your traditional cartomancy, you'll have a classic constellation, you will usually have a letter of the alphabet or sometimes some geomancy depending. So here you have some geomancy figures, sometimes it's just a letter, you have some flowers, you have some talismans, so we have the planets, we have some symbolism here, little subjects that you can either read left to right or right to left depending on how you pull the card. This is intense, this is crazy, and yet this is fascinating, and so I've been really enjoying studying this. I'm using both the guidebook, which actually is not great, I'm not gonna lie, this is not the most good guidebook to study Le Grand Lenormand. I mostly bought this deck for the artwork, to be honest, but the way that the classical one is drawn, sometimes it's very hard to see what's going on. It's hard to see the subjects, it's hard to see the myths, the divinities and stuff, but this particular rendition, the way that they've drawn it, I can really see a lot better the flowers, I can see a lot better the different animals, and I can see a lot better the mythological figures. So this has really been for me a deck I bought for the artwork, and then I'm using external books, I'm using blogs and like the internet websites and stuff to do my research. And so I've been slowly going in card by card. I'm using like my very shitty, please don't judge my handwriting, but I've been literally just, you know, making some notes, and I'm just slowly but surely taking little notes. This has only been like what, a few days of me doing the study, so I've not gone very far, but it has been fascinating so far, and there is much to dive into this. I just don't know how well I'll be able to read after, so this is definitely a deck I'm enjoying studying. I just haven't figured out yet if I'll be able to read with it once I've finished studying. And I know this is a contentious deck. Some people adore it and some people think it's gloobity-glop. I don't know yet. I'm definitely fascinated by it. I think it's a very interesting structure. There's so much there to dive into. I'm mostly interested about the mythological aspects and all the other plants here. Look at this. So pretty. So I'm very glad I got this particular modern rendition, because I think that it does make it easier, like I was saying, to figure out what's on the card. And then once I figure out if I do like using this, once I have learned all of what's on there, I will then potentially get the classical version and use it for readings. So stay tuned, I shall keep you posted once I've advanced in my studies. But I'd love to know if you guys have ever used Le Grand Lenormand, if you like it, if you don't. First, if it's something that's interesting to you, if it's something that you tried and it was not for you, or on the contrary, if you really enjoy it, let me know. It's definitely a subsystem I don't hear a lot talked about. We talk about Lenormand, we talk about tarot and all of that, but Le Grand Lenormand is definitely its own beast that I feel like, at least in the English speaking videos, we don't talk a lot about. So I'd love to have your guys' thoughts and opinion on it. And on that note, this is the last deck I wanted to share with you today. So I hope you enjoyed to see this little haul. I hope that it was fun to see my new decks, and definitely let me know in the comments your thoughts on the decks I've shared. If you have any good Lenormand kind of resources, any videos, books I should check out, then please let me know in the comments. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. I'm just so grateful for your comments, for your kindness, for your support. I don't say this in all of my videos, but I'm just so blown away by how awesome you are and by this wonderful community. So I just wanted to send you all a big hug today and say thank you for making my life a lot more joyful. I'm sending you so much good vibes, and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!